Hello, all, and welcome to my presentation on the Indian culture in the country of India. The methods I used to do my research were video research, articles and websites, and then an interview in person at a restaurant with a former colleague of mine. I want to start by describing my own culture so that you guys can have an idea of the biases that may present itself as I go throughout the presentation. The American culture can be described as a melting pot of different cultures, with the US being the third largest in the world. It has a lot of different ethnic groups represented within its culture. Americans value independence and individualism, which kind of both base off the idea of being self sufficient and molding and being able to mold into your own ideas and your own identities with efforts within American society being within education and institutions and having freedom to pursue their own definitions of happiness. And through those pursuits of happiness, having equality through that all. And I also wanted to throw economy on there because capitalism is very prevalent in the United States. But all in all, the American culture can lean a lot of different ways because of how many different groups have immigrated to it. Next, I'll explain who I had interviewed, and it is Callum Kular, and he was a former colleague of mine at the middle school that I work at. So I kind of formed a relationship with him, so I chose him for my interview. And he described his culture as Punjabi slash Indian, but he had never lived within India. So he described himself as a non resident Indian, which, as you can see, is a person with Indian origin but does not live within India. So he spent most of his life here in Michigan and Three Rivers, Michigan. But during the summers, he would go to the United Kingdom and he would spend a, his whole summer over there with his mom's family, who his mom's sisters and brothers all live within the UK, but his mom's mother, so his grandparents, live in India still. So his grandparents would be overseas citizens of India who are permanent residents with there, while his mom was a first generation immigrant from India to the UK, and he is technically a second generation immigrant because he went from the UK to the US but also stayed within the UK with his mom as well. For Cal's culture being Indian, I will now go into the background of his to kind of compare the two. So, India is the birthplace of both Hinduism and Buddhism, so religion is definitely a large aspect of the Indian culture, whether no matter which way you lean in religion, it's always a very passionate thing within their space. Um, Respecting elders was something that Cal really leaned heavily on. He said that the loyalty to your family and respecting those who have raised you and giving you the things that you have gotten was definitely something that has been deep within them. Um, Having a warrior complex was something that he also touched on. I think because of the heritage that is within Indian culture and how much they had to fight to get what they got, they very much live with a warrior complex. And the most interesting thing to me was the multi generational homes. So, most of the time, grandparents and parents and children, they all live within the same home. And when, as you get older, it's an expectation that your kids and people under you will house you and take care of you and in that aspect, which I think is really cool. I did want to quickly touch base on the difference between Callum's religion and the original and most prevalent within the American culture. So, Sikhism and Christianity believe in both one God, Christianity's being Jesus, and Sikhism's being this guru meaning teacher, but through society and how it's evolved, the guru is now within the holy book and the spirit remains in the holy book, where Jesus lives within the Bible and Christianity. Um, Within Sikhism, they normally go to temples, and Christianities, they go to churches where they praise the cross. A cool tidbit about Sikhism is their 5Ks. It's a way that they can feel closer to God and always feel protected. Social media within both American culture and the Indian culture can be used to compare and to trade ideas as well. A lot of trade can happen through the internet. The US uses it mostly for connection, popularity, self expression, and to share creativity across the trading, while Indians normally compete, use it for to help their personal style. The newer generations definitely use it more than the olders, but the olders try to use it in order to keep them young. Weddings can differ from Indian and American cultures due to the way they dress, the duration of the celebration, and also how they tie the knot. So, within the American culture, they use rings to symbolize their relationship, where in the Indian culture they tie their shawls that they wear around their heads as symbols of respect within the temple. In the Indian culture, the celebration can last a full week, with the celebration being on a Saturday at noon. In America, it doesn't really matter the day, but all the celebration happens on one day. Next, we'll talk about mental health within the Indian and American culture and what can compare between the two. So, mental health is definitely more prioritized within the American culture versus where in India they definitely don't think it is as much of a priority. Within the new generations. It has come up a little bit more, but that has been through a lot of generational trauma. The treatment styles definitely vary from both, where Indians very much go more Chinese medicine, where Americans go more Western style. Everything mental health wise kind of generates around self esteem that can be traced back to social media. Benefits of knowing sensitive topics, such as the ones I have mentioned previously in other cultures, will be to help spread knowledge throughout everyone, to help provide equity and equality for all that we interact with within our daily lives. It just helps us be a little bit more considerate and sensitive to those that we share Earth with. Seeing the similarities and differences between my own culture and my former colleague Callum's culture was super interesting, and the fact that we both cherish loyalty but also enjoy our individualism is something that I really took away from this. So, thank you for enjoying my presentation, and I hope you learned some fun facts about weddings and even social media like I did throughout this presentation.